She looked at the bigger pattern instead of one night, and that kept her from overcorrecting, second-guessing, or trying to recreate the day like it was a formula. A rough night could still happen, but it did not have the power to hijack her next day. Are you ready to get back to what you love after knee replacement? The Total Knee Success Podcast is your trusted guide with practical tips, evidence-based strategies, and no fluff. It's not personal medical advice, just solid education to help you manage pain, regain mobility, and get back to living the life you love. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Total Knee Success Podcast. I'm Michelle. If you've been with me for episodes 75, 76, and 77, you know we've been walking through sleep after knee replacement from multiple angles. Episode 75 covered why nights can feel so different after knee replacement. Episode 76 was the ripple effect, why interrupted sleep can change what your day feels like in your body. Episode 77 was the practical side, the way sleep starts to improve through positioning, medication timing, routines, and activity levels. If you've not listened to those episodes yet, I suggest you go back and start there first, because today is the fourth part of this series, and it will make a little more sense once you have the full foundation. By the end of this episode, you'll recognize the signs that sleep is no longer running your day, and you'll know what that change often looks like in real life, even before sleep is perfect. There's a moment that a lot of people describe, and it's not usually dramatic. It's not the first night you sleep 8 hours straight. It's more subtle than that, in the sense that it shows up in your morning and your afternoon more than it shows up on a sleep app, if you happen to use one. You wake up and you're not immediately doing the math. How many times did I wake up? How much soreness and swelling am I going to be dealing with today? Will I be able to function? How many hours of sleep did I get? Instead, you get out of bed and you move into the day without your whole schedule being built around needing a nap just to make it through the afternoon. That's the moment that we're talking about today. Sleep after knee replacement rarely improves like flipping a switch. You've heard me say that in this series already, and I'm repeating it here on purpose because it's the piece that keeps the rest of this episode from sounding like a fantasy. Most studies and clinical experience line up on the same idea. Early sleep is often more interrupted, and over time, it improves in steps, with a wide spread of timelines across people. That shows up in questionnaire studies, wearable tracking, and overnight sleep studies in joint replacement populations. So if your nights are still unpredictable, you can still be moving into the part of the story where sleep stops controlling your day. Let's bring Claire back. You met Claire in episodes 75 through 77. In episode 76, she was waking over and over, then starting the morning already behind. In episode 77, she started noticing patterns, and her nights began to change in small ways. A longer first stretch, one less wake-up, a little less irritation building right before bedtime. Today, Claire is a few weeks further down the road. Her sleep is still interrupted some nights, but the daytime experience is changing. Here's what that looks like. First, her energy is no longer the limiting factor in every part of the day. She still gets tired, but she's not running on fumes from breakfast to dinner. She can finish a morning routine without needing to sit down afterward. She can take a short walk and still feel like she has something left. Second, she has more patience again because she's not running on exhaustion. When you're not sleep-deprived, your brain has more room for normal inconvenience. A slow morning, a stiff first few steps, a delayed appointment, a harder therapy session. All of those things stop feeling like proof that something went wrong. Third, she starts saying yes to more of her life. A lunch with a friend, a quick outing, sitting at a grandchild's game for a little longer. These are not marathon days, they're normal days, and that's the point. And she starts feeling more like herself again, not because her knee feels great all day, but because her attention is not pinned to it every hour. This is why this episode is called When Sleep Finally Stops Controlling Your Entire Day. The point is that sleep does not have to be perfect for it to stop running your day. What changes first for a lot of people is the grip it has on your schedule. You may still wake up a bit tired, but you're not spending the whole day bracing for the night or rebuilding the day around fatigue. One way you can tell you're turning a corner is how often sleep is on your mind. Early on, sleep can take over your whole day. You count wake-ups, you watch the clock, you plan your afternoon around whether you can squeeze in a nap. When sleep starts improving, you get longer stretches of the day where you're not thinking about it. You're just living. You may also notice it in your tolerance. A slightly busier day no longer guarantees a terrible night. You can have a therapy day and still get through dinner without feeling wiped out. You can wake up with a little knee stiffness and still get moving without feeling like the whole day is already decided. There's a physical reason this tends to happen. As swelling is less likely to spike and your daily rhythm becomes more predictable, sleep tends to get less fragmented. That does not mean it becomes normal all at once. It means your body is getting more of what actually restores you. It also helps to keep your expectations realistic in this window. Better sleep does not erase every single ache. It does not stop swelling completely. It does not make therapy effortless. What it does is loosen the grip those things can have on your day. Good sleep promotes healing, which promotes good sleep. This is also where you can tell something has changed, because a rough night no longer gets to write the whole story for the next day. Claire still had nights that felt rough, but she stopped treating the morning like a verdict. She looked at the bigger pattern instead of one night, and that kept her from overcorrecting, second-guessing, or trying to recreate the day like it was a formula. A rough night could still happen, but it did not have the power to hijack her next day. That's what I mean when I say sleep stops controlling your day. One quick safety note: call your provider right away for fever, new drainage from your incision, or new calf pain or one-sided swelling. It's not typical for you. If you have chest pain or trouble breathing, treat that as an emergency and get urgent help right away. For other symptoms that feel concerning or are getting worse instead of better, reach out to your provider. And even without those red flags, if you have several nights in a row where you can barely sleep at all, it is reasonable to reach out to your care team to talk it through. You can see it in how you plan your time. You can make decisions based on what your knee can handle and what your life needs, not based on panic about whether you will sleep. You stop building the day around avoiding discomfort at all costs. You start building the day around what is reasonable and sustainable. One more thing to expect: when sleep starts improving, it often improves unevenly. You can have a few better nights, and then one that feels rough again. That can happen after a more active day, a change in routine, or a day that simply asked a little bit more of you. It doesn't mean you're back at the start. It usually means your sleep still has a little bit of sensitivity. Before we wrap up, if you're listening and thinking, yep, that's me, make sure you're signed up for the Total Knee Success Insider newsletter. You'll get practical education that matches your phase of healing and helps you know what to expect. Click the link in the show notes or go to totalkneesuccess.com. If you want extra support making sense of pain after surgery, my new book, Making Sense of Pain After Knee Replacement, is on Amazon and Kindle. It's a practical guide to learning about swelling, stiffness, soreness, setbacks, movement discomfort, and day-to-day symptom changes after knee replacement. I'll link it in the show notes. Let's check back in with Claire. The best way to describe where she is now is that she's living again inside her days. She still has nights that are not great. She still has evenings where swelling builds a bit and she has to be smart about what she does. But sleep is no longer the headline of every morning. She has enough energy to show up for her own life. She has more patience in the messy middle. She participates without rehearsing the consequences of every choice. She's not waiting for every symptom to disappear to feel like herself again. And if this is starting to sound like your life again, that's worth noticing. You kept going through a stretch that was genuinely difficult on sleep and energy, and now the day is opening back up. That's the win. In episode 79, we're starting a new short series on prehab. We're going to talk about what helps before surgery when your knee is stiff, when your quads feel weak, when your stamina is low, and when your brain is bouncing between worry and determination. If you're getting ready for surgery, that series will give you a clear place to start. Thanks for joining me. I'm Michelle, and this has been the Total Knee Success Podcast. This podcast is for educational purposes only. Discover more at totalkneesuccess.com, and be sure to subscribe and share, because every step forward takes you closer to living the life you love.